you talk a little bit more about NFL Blitz? Or you want to move on to another?
Either one is fine with me. Whatever
All right,
game
cool.
you
We
pull
can
up,
move back
it's cool with me.
to NFL Blitz, but we're live officially now
Okay.
on Twitch. Hey, everybody. Hayward Crawford here. Welcome back. Welcome to the very first Under the Influence comedian gameplay commentary. I'm your host, Hayward Crawford, at Hayward Crawford. I'm a comedy writer for Script Sundays TV. We're LA and Detroit-based comedy troupe. I'm here with my main man, gadholland, comedian, sketch actor. So this is basically where we're here to shoot the shit. I know Twitch, a lot of you guys are live stream gamers like, oh, who are these guys? Ooh. Hey, we're here to spit some wisdom on our former gamer glory days, and I'm sure there's many more coming. So we're streaming right now on Twitch, trying to figure this crap out. Also, to go live on YouTube at the same time. So pretty much wish me luck, and hopefully, we do what we're supposed to do. How you doing, Gad, out there?
I'm doing all right, man. How you doing? I almost said this morning. This morning time for me, but how you guys doing? I'm
good, man. Can't complain.
I'm doing good.
Cannot complain, B. I am just pulling double duty here, with this. So yeah, all right. Now we're about to go live on StreamYard. I mean, live on YouTube. That is. All right, here we go. Local recordings. I don't want. I'm gonna do that. Let's just see what happens. All right, so those viewers just joining us. You got it?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, cool. Those of y'all just joining us, we are on YouTube, Script Sundays TV. We're live on Twitch. We're live on YouTube. We'll just see how this shit goes. I'm not touching shit else. We'll just commentate and see how it looks. So those are just us. Gad, can you give us a little insight about NFL Blitz? Just a little brief history about it. Those looking at this like this doesn't look like the Madden 2024.
Yes, yeah. This is crazy because this is a wild time. Number one. This was the '90s. So in the '90s, if anyone's young is watching this, this is the '90s was the extreme decade. I don't know why, but everything was extreme. This was the same time as ESPN Extreme Games was popular. So Doritos was spicy. This was just a time where everything was bigger than what it needed to be. And NFL Blitz was kind of one of those staple marks of that time period. NFL Blitz was, I like football, but it's not violent enough. So this was it. It was the best. It was a football version of NBA Jam, and NBA Jam was, I like basketball, but I want more dunks and less everything else. And NBA Jam was basketball, but it was 2-on-2, and it was just whatever team had a good dunker was a good team. And football is this. It was just whoever had the bigger players. This was just look at the giant titties on the cheerleader. This is just ridiculous. That was what came up between the quarters. This is what this game is. The score is, was it like something? Somebody has 60 points in this already, and it's just the fourth quarter. So the football is the size of a watermelon. The quarterback is bigger than the rock. Like everyone's giant, and this is what the game like. You could hit players after the top. After the play, you could hit players. There was not one penalty on this game. They just this game had not one penalty. There was no pass interference. The best defense was just tackle all the wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
And this game was just an extreme. This was before Michael Vick too. So the wildest quarterback in the game was in the league at the time was Cordell Stewart. Funny thing about this game was it's fully licensed by the NFL and the Players Association. So you get all the teams and all the players that were current at the time. The Madden that came out at this exact same time didn't have all those licenses. So at the same time this came out, Madden 64 came out. And that had a player's license because it's two different licenses. A license for the NFL and all the teams. There's a different license for all the players and their likenesses. And Madden only had the player's license. So if you go back and if you watch or play footage of of Madden N64, there's no mascots for the teams. It's just the quote unquote cities that they play for. So it would just be and it was the cities that had the stadiums. It wasn't even the cities that the teams use. So it would really be Pittsburgh versus Foxborough instead of New England. So because since New England isn't a real place, it's kind of just an idea. So they couldn't use that. So they used Foxborough, which is where the actual Patriot Stadium is. And the jerseys didn't matter. It was the colors of the teams, but never in the scheme of which that they had. So I remember the Pittsburgh Steelers, they had, which is weird because they wear this color combination now randomly, but they had yellow helmets, black jerseys, and white pants, which is not what the Steelers wear. But now, some reason, they'll have every once in a while, they'll do a throwback jersey with that color combo, but just real odd to play with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they had yellow helmets. So, but this game was fully licensed. This crazy game where you can tackle after the thing, and most of the tackles were wrestling moves. And like if you watch the gameplay, you'll see a couple of German suplexes and power bombs, and those are the actual tackles. You could hit people after the play. Like once the whistle stopped, your player could keep running around and hit people as they wanted, all kinds of stuff. So this was a game that was originally released in the arcade, and what we're watching now is the console version, which was almost the same. It was almost kind of the same accuracy. The graphics are a little downgraded from the arcade version, but this is pretty much what it was in the arcade. It was this right next to, this is right next to Mortal Kombat. So that's the lineage. I want to say the same company made both games. I think Midway made both games, Mortal Kombat and
Midway was big around that. If it wasn't Midway, it was EA Sports. And those guys, once again, you're watching Under the Influence Comedian Gameplay Commentary. I'm not saying we're going to be doing this every week or every month, but we will be doing this pretty frequently. I'm your host, Hayward Crawford, comedy writer for Script Sundays TV. Here, my main man, gadholland. We are reminiscing about NFL Blitz. Now, like I was talking with before, a lot of people don't remember. Like back in the 90s, it was really, I mean, I can't really think of a more dominating video game, at least from a football standpoint. I love how you mentioned like football was like, I like football, but it's not as violent or whatever it is. NFL Blitz fulfilled that need because you had Madden run in the 90s. You had NBA Live, which I was pretty into mid 90s through early 2000s, but then you had kind of what kind of took over for NBA Live? NBA Live kind of had
NBA Live dominated until the mid 2000, until probably maybe like 05, 06. That was probably
the NBA 2K series. 2K
Live, yeah. So NBA Live went from I'm going back in my head for video game shit. NBA Live went from like 95 up until maybe 2005. So they had a good 10-year run of being a number one basketball game. And that went from Super Nintendo all the way up until PlayStation 2. And I remember right when Live had when they got the dunk contest right was right when they started, right when 2K kind of came up and was from what I've been told is just a better game solidly. But this is a weird time for football games with this Blitz. It kind of shows what kind of monster certain companies are. Like this right here is kind of the beginning of it, because this whole conversation I've been comparing Blitz and Madden, and you can't make that comparison anymore because in 2005 when 2K made NFL 2K, it was a really successful football game for half the price of what Madden was. So
I remember that. That was almost like the 50 Cent versus Kanye.
It was tough. It was and I had both games. and there was so much little rivalry stuff in the game, whereas they made a rivalry between Terrell Owens and Ray Lewis. Whereas Ray Lewis was on the cover of Madden at the same time Terrell Owens was on the cover of 2K. I don't know how fast people can pull this up, but if you looked at the box art of both the games, if you flipped the boxes over and looked at them, on the back of each game was that player fucking up the other player. It was little shit like that. So if you flipped over Madden, yeah,
I'm gonna look it up though. I
remember this.
Yeah.
So I remember this.
What was the year?
It was 2005 for both of them. So if you flipped over, no, not NFL Blitz, NFL 2K, NFL 2K and Madden. This is like I'm trying to get to why there's no more NFL Blitz. I'm getting to that.
Okay.
But so if you flipped over the box art for Madden and flipped over the box art for NFL 2K, NFL 2K5. So Terrell Owens was on the cover of 2K. Yep. If you flipped it over, Terrell Owens is stiff arming Ray Lewis. And if you flipped over the box art for Madden, Ray Lewis is hitting Terrell Owens, which in real life, they really wouldn't be near each other on the field because it's a linebacker versus a wide receiver. So they wouldn't have any business near each other. Yeah. Yeah. That's the front cover. But can you is that a picture of the back art? The back of the box? And you see Terrell Owens stiff armor Ray Lewis, right?
Yep.
I think it's the picture of the top left I'm looking at. Yeah. And in the back of Madden was the exact reverse. So it was a direct rivalry, and Madden came out for like $60, and that 2K came out for $20. So it was a solid, and I played both games. It was a solid football game for less than half the price. And after that year, that was the last year there was multiple NFL games. Because after that, EA said, fuck this, and bought exclusive rights to the NFL. That's why there's no other football games but Madden. And in my opinion, that was the beginning of the downfall of football games. There's Ray Lewis on the cover. Huh?
Yeah, that's too bad, too. Look.
Yeah. There's Ray Lewis on the cover, and on the back, there's Ray Lewis hitting Terrell Owens, top left.
Yep, there you go.
And I don't forget this. I remember this. I remember because I used to go back and forth playing both games. I had both of them. And after this is like corporate greed, all that kind of stuff. So they bought monopolies, all these problems. So they bought exclusive rights to the NFL. So no one else can make a football game outside of the EA. And EA only makes Madden, which is every year is slightly shittier than the year before since 2005.
I think I don't know. Yeah. You couldn't have put it any more. Gave it all the perspective on that. And I will say with NFL Blitz, even though kind of like RIP, but really, if it wasn't for NFL Blitz, there'd be no NBA Street.
No, there wouldn't.
There probably would be no Def Jam Vendetta. Yeah.
But NBA Jam, NFL Street, both of those are EA. EA makes both of those, and they got those ideas from these old Midway games.
And I also want to add to that too. I still want to give. We had this conversation before about Sega Dreamcast. Yeah. Sega Dreamcast kicked off from what I believe NBA 2K. NBA 2K came out in 99, 2000, along with NFL 2K. And I remember that. I remember that sort of tension from 2000 to 2005. You had Madden. You had Madden reigning top. You had NBA Live reigning at the top. But every year you had NBA 2K. NBA 2K1, NFL,
the NFL 2K games with Randy Moss. Randy Moss on the cover. Those games were better than the Maddens at the time.
They were, and they were getting steadily better. That's what first got me really better. Sports games was NFL Blitz, and then NBA 2K. NFL 2K that really got me into it. NBA Live was all right, but
NBA 2K, the early ones were really good and had the most unique free throw mechanic. Whereas to hit a free throw, you had to pull both triggers slowly at the same time to hit a free throw right. And if you got it right, you could be perfect with Shaq, which was almost impossible, which is difficult in real life. But it took crazy dexterity to hit a good free throw. There was a bunch of mechanics in those games that were really good. And so at that time, I mean, there was, I think, 3 basketball games floating around at the same time. It was the 2Ks, the lives, and then it was like game day or something. It was I was like fast break. It was something, some kind of something, but it was another game. So it was multiple basketball games floating around at the same time. I don't know why. I don't know how EA wasn't able to get exclusive rights to the NBA, but I'm glad they didn't, because if they would have, we wouldn't have the 2Ks for basketball that we have now.
Facts.
I think this dude was getting his ass whooped by the computer.
And really, I remember like just that, once again, going back to the tension building between, I think NBA Live kind of really ended up falling off before Madden did.
Oh, yeah.
Really, NBA 2K, like you said, was stepping up with their gameplay in every area. NFL 2K was. And then I remember, I think it was 2004, if you recall, where for the first time, instead of NFL 2K4, they turned into ESPN football.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
I remember that. That game had a camera mode.
The competition was built to get better, and then finally it was like, we're here, ESPN football.
Yeah, that ESPN, that game you're talking about, I think Warren Sapp was on it, and it had a real fun mechanic where you would play inside the helmet. So they put the camera inside the helmet, which was busy. You didn't know what was going on, because I played ball, and you still don't really know what's going on when you're on the field, and it was just as a controller was just fucking chaos. But that was a fun camera. And also that was stuff where like games had fun modes and weird had just a bunch of weird stuff in it where you don't get that often. And like that's one thing why these Madden games are falling off, because they'll have a feature in one game and they'll never bring that feature back. They'll never do all that kind of stuff.
RIP.
101-96. That's the score of this game that we're watching. That's the score. That's an NBA score, and that's an NBA score from like 10 years ago. Like even NBA scores more than that, but that's what Blitz was. It was wild. Cordell Stewart is on the box art because he was because he could have played like 4 different positions. He was the prototype Michael Vick.
Man, so many bars, so many gems. But I just want to still, once again, before we move on, we got another video game to get to.
I didn't even know I knew that much about fucking Madden football game. I didn't know I knew that much. I really didn't. But I remember that box art though. I'll never forget that. I was like, these dudes are talking shit.
Those were the days people don't remember. All you had, there was no live streaming. There was no, I'm gonna just start a YouTube channel. All you had was the Madden tournament. Go there and do all that. Go fly into St. Louis or Chicago, wherever they're holding it. They got $100,000.
And there was no online. There was barely an online play, so you had to get good against the computer and pray that you were good enough to play against people you've never seen before. It was like there wasn't no social media. It was Facebook had just got invented.
Right.
MySpace was still just your page with a bunch of glitter and music playing.
But even before early 2000s, it was literally just you were playing offline, or whoever's in your neighborhood sitting right next to you. Yeah. And if you were good enough, you went to like local Game Stops or local convention centers and events, and then you went through the tournament, the bracket.
Or sometimes your school had a tournament, and then you was like the best kid in your school. But it was hard to do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But now you just play online and some 7-year-old calls you the N-word and run. It's so personal.
Boy. I find that out, bro.
Yeah, but those exclusive rights were just like that, like they ruined football games. Like that fear that EA had from that year 2K had that game really scared the shit out of EA, and it was like, let me just buy exclusive rights. And then with those exclusive rights, they just sat on them and they just make Madden every year because it's a cash cow. but there's no oomph behind it. They still have, I mean, it's this. Like they're copying and pasting the like the game files at this point and just updating the player rosters. But like the same glitches that would be from 2012 are still there 10 years later in the Maddens now. The fact that the same pass that worked in 2002 still works today.
No innovation, no more innovation.
No, I can still run a hook route with the fullback. He'll be wide open in the middle of the field. That hasn't changed in 15 years. I can still have him run a wheel route and it works every time.
Facts.
The games, the quality of the game went down because they know there's no competition. The only competition they have is with themselves. So that's the reason why they don't. That's why there's no more NFL streets. There's no more. They need to make another NBA street, but that's why there's no NFL street. All that stuff is gone because if they make it, that'll take away their Madden sales, and their Madden sales is the only game. Is their cash? It's their other FIFA. EA has a giant contract with FIFA, the soccer entity, I guess. I don't know how to describe it, but with that, I've heard people complain about all the things with FIFA, and it's like, if you don't like it, you don't have anywhere else to play soccer. So you're kind of stuck with just the EA FIFA games. And their microtransactions, and to get any of the good players, you have to pay them extra money on top of the game you already bought. So it's unfortunate. It's pay to win, and I mean, like, people have done the math because it's almost like a lottery, gambling type of thing, where to get the good players, you pay money for a chance to get them, like loot boxes and stuff. So they said it's like you have to pay, like pay thousands of dollars to get like the soccer's version of LeBron or whatever, like thousands of dollars for the chance to win these guys. And I'm just glad I'm not into soccer. I'm just glad I'm not.
All right, awesome, man. Well, that was some great commentary. Once again, y'all, you're watching Under the Influence Comedian Gameplay Commentary over at Script Sundays TV. Follow us on all platforms at that handle. I'm your boy Hayward Crawford, comedy writer, here with gadholland. Now we're about to move on to another banger, another greatest hits, if you will. Let's just let's listen to the opening of this. From the
I hope this is a game I know as much as these old football games. I don't even watch football anymore. I knew all this shit.
Yeah, so here we go.
Okay. It's like, all right, so we're going old school just because it's Sega. Just because Sega's on here.
Yeah, you hear the music?
We're going back in the day.
Hey, come on over.
Okay, bet.
Taxi.
Man.
Yeah. Man. Crazy Taxi may have been my intro to alternative rock. It may have been my intro to alternative rock. It may have been. There was a couple.
Bad Religion, Offspring.
Oh yeah, all this, man.
2000s, yeah.
Fucking white people with black fingernails. This was that shit. These games and like back to EA, but they're such a giant company. They make games in so many different genres. But I mean, honestly, those old Maddens were my intros to a lot of different music. Those Maddens, those Need for Speeds, like they really did mix rock and hip hop a lot. So I got into a bunch of different artists from like a bunch of different music I got into was through video games. So I mean, to this day, my favorite white band is Disturbed, and I got into them from playing. What was I playing? Oh, Need for Speed Most Wanted. That's how I got into them but I got into like I remember which white band and which games I remember them from. So like,
I say the one for me, like I say the Offspring is the most because they had some bangers on the game.
Yeah.
And then also too at the same time they were kind of coming up in that indie alternative scene. They had, I think, a big guilty pleasure movie for me was The Faculty, 1998. They were on that soundtrack, and like it was. I'm glad you said it first because literally it was like it did put on a lot of black folks that like alternative rock. It was like, hey, I could rock with this. I remember taking my Sega Dreamcast when I got it for Christmas in '99. I remember taking it to our Florida family vacation trip. Florida's supposed to be hanging out. I'm bringing my Sega Dreamcast with me playing Sonic Adventure, Crazy Taxi, like half the day. Nothing like it.
Oh, and I only drove as the black dude in a Crazy Taxi. I didn't drive as anybody else. I only drove as the black dude.
I was between him and the other, like the white boy with the green hair. I went back and forth between those two.
Yeah, no, I only drove as my man. Like I only know this car, him and his bucket hat. Is the only guy. The only dude I drove with. I didn't even entertain anybody else.
He spoke to you. It was like,
yeah, like I am definitely the pick the black dude guy. I'm not even gonna lie. That I will always pick the black dude. Like the old Streets of Rage games. I only played Escape. That was the main person I played. He was the weakest one. He was my favorite. But also, that was also some other 90s shit. The Streets of Rage games where there was a character that it was a beat 'em up, but he wore roller skates or inline skates because everything was a skateboard. Everything was inline skates, BMX bikes. So Crazy Taxi was one of them games I played a lot. And the soundtracks to this, I got into Godsmack from Prince of Persia. All these different. I got into a bunch of different. I got into Metallica from a Test Drive racing game because they did a lot of the soundtrack for like a Test Drive off road. So I got it. So all the white bands were just purely from video games. If the soundtrack.
I'm looking up the original track.
Madden 2003. Yeah.
I'm trying to look up the original tracks of all the Crazy Taxi songs. Crazy Taxi, original song, original soundtrack. That was just epic. Because all I can think of really is like Bad Religion, The Offspring, but I don't remember the other ones.
Good Charlotte probably's in there.
It's on IMDb. All I Want, which we listening to right now, this was like the flagship anthem. This was the first I always played first. Every time you played it. These missions were pretty dope too, but we'll get to they're about to do next like doing the regular missions. But let me play for you. Let me tell you all the songs. All I Want by the Offspring. Way Down the Line by the Offspring.
Yep.
Choose the World by the Offspring. 10 in 2010. 10 in 2010. The whole time I thought they were saying turn in 22. Turn in 22. It was like 10 in 2010. Them and Us. Bad Religion. Spirit, Bad Religion. Inner Logic, Bad Religion, and then Get Out by the Hooks. But man, that was epic. That was even if you go on Wikipedia, even when you go on Wikipedia, it says right here, the franchise has been recognized for its innovative gameplay design, which is easy to learn but difficult to master. It's in use of in-game advertising, which we'll get to. And it's and it's soundtrack music provided by the Offspring and Bad Religion. So the reception was, very great at the time, especially with the music. Like you said, it put a whole new generation or demographic, if you will, put them on. So, Let me skip over actual mission. I mean, actual. There we go. Right. Think here. Now we're gonna go to actual thing. Yeah, and then like the Sega Dreamcast, I think it did. Then it came out on the Sega Dreamcast first, and then arcade, or was it both at the same time?
I want to say it was Dreamcast first, then the arcade. I want to say because they had better. I remember them having like much better versions of Crazy Taxi with more graphics and features and stuff in the arcade. But I want to say the Dreamcast version came first, then they built an arcade. Like they like most games back then started in the arcade and then they went to console. I think this one started console, then went arcade. Because I want to say, this is just me guessing, but I want to say after Sega announced they're no longer making consoles, they're just making games, was when Crazy Taxi the arcade came out. Which was a shame because this was a really good Dreamcast was a really good system. It was just poorly timed.
Ahead of its time, man. It was just ahead of its time.
It was ahead of its time for like 6 months. Where like it was better than the PlayStation 1, but not better than the PlayStation 2.
I don't know. I would say I think there was a point where at least I felt like Dreamcast was stronger in its game titles.
No, it definitely had better titles.
I think PS2 obviously the graphics, was superior than the Dreamcast because PS2 came out 2 years later. Dreamcast dropped 99, PS2 2001. But I think what maybe Dreamcast may have lacked in its graphics and like maybe popularity, it up for quality of its games.
Oh yeah, its original titles was up there with Nintendo. Like their original titles were unmatched. They had Crazy Taxi was one of them, like Power Stone, Dynamite Cop, Speed Devils, like all of their exclusive titles are really good. Speed Devils is still one of my favorite racing games. Period.
Is it called Speed what?
Speed Devils.
I think when I got the Dreamcast in Christmas '99, I had Shenmue, Sonic Adventure.
Yep.
Shenmue, Sonic Adventure, Crazy Taxi, and I think House of the Dead too. Because I think even before either when I got the Dreamcast or maybe before they had that Dreamcast, it was like Dreamcast '99 magazine where you had a disc. That you put in
and you would get the demos.
The demos. I remember the Shenmue demo. Bro. That's still up on YouTube. Shenmue is epic. We'll get the Shenmue.
I played Shenmue when I was younger, but I didn't have the patience for it. Like I didn't game to be that long. Like as a kid, I couldn't grasp the patience for it. But now, as an adult, I want to go back and play Shenmue just to see how it is. Like as an adult, like I do want to. Like that's a bucket list. Is going back and playing and beating Shenmue. Like I should probably order it because it came back out. It got re-released on Xbox. There's so many games that I want that Dreamcast. I really want Dreamcast to re-release. But Shenmue 1 and 2, did they make a Shenmue 3?
Yeah, they did do Shenmue 3. I watched the gameplay for Shenmue 2 within the last few years. I never got around to playing Shenmue 2, but I'm gonna probably watch Shenmue 3. Shenmue 2 was pretty good, but it was 20 years ago. I was a kid, so I'm not as invested in Shenmue. But years later, I got around to watching the gameplay. I think by like early 2000s, mid 2000s, I was on to something else. I wasn't that intrigued to pay $60 for the Shenmue game at the time.
To watch a guy walk around the town and get candy.
Yeah,
that was the whole game. I was playing it.
The first one was Grand Theft Auto, pre-sandbox, Rockstar games as we know it. So there was something very epic about it. Really, it wasn't really. Maybe Crazy Taxi at the time felt sandbox like GTA. The Shenmue kind of changed the game with this long, big sandbox, big world scenario.
Oh yeah.
That hooked me back in the day. And then since Shenmue, I didn't feel a love of Shenmue until Grand Theft Auto 3 came around, 2001.
Right.
You know, Crazy Taxi still did the job though. You couldn't run over anybody. You always ran out the way in time. I do appreciate Grand Theft Auto. Like you can run people over now. They can't just duck out the way. You know, so Grand Theft Auto.
And you got to go to a Pizza Hut. Look at this. You have to go to an actual. Hut. Yeah. Oh no! Like they were doing this in like the Need for Speed games. Like you had to meet up at a Burger King in the game or Best Buy. Yeah. So it was a lot of product placement in those games.
Well, Need for Speed, the first one out mid-90s, right? That was before.
Yeah. First one was in the mid-90s.
I wasn't that into Need for Speed. I think I may have played Need for Speed 2 Underground. So I never got that into it. I did a little bit of Gran Turismo, like Gran Turismo 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess at least for Crazy Taxi was the first one where I noticed like, oh, that's so cool. Kentucky Fried Chicken, Pizza Hut.
It's crazy. Like these are real places.
Yeah, that blew my mind. Even though it's just product placement. You know?
and product placement for kids is so crazy because they can't buy anything.
They bug their kid. They go to their parents like, Daddy, Daddy, take them, Daddy. They know that. They know that good and well. Man, whoever this dude is playing, because y'all welcome back. Obviously, we're not playing any of the games. Our goal is to eventually be playing games. Maybe have 3-4 panels of us playing different games. For now, we're just gonna commentate on them. But this dude playing little itty bitty 2-minute rounds. You got throwing a 10-minute boy. I was on here for 10 minutes doing sessions. You doing a little 1-2 minute session.
I'm almost certain I didn't have the patience for that as a kid. Like this, I didn't. Like you were talking about Gran Turismo. Most of the endurance races I never did because they took too long. Like I didn't have the patience to sit there and do a race for 2 hours or an hour.
Hey.
I remember the longest I did in Gran Turismo was like a 30-lap race.
Hey, we got our first live chat comment. It's a bot, unfortunately. Sex 69 fun, free virtual girls chatting your city.
Okay, I like that.
We got comments, we got traction, but it's just not the one we're looking for.
Look at that
on our YouTube.
Somebody knows we here.
Yeah, the bots are among us. So y'all, once again, welcome back to Script Sundays TV, Under the Influence Comedian Gameplay Commentary. I'm your host, Hayward Crawford, comedy writer, Script Sundays TV. Here with gadholland, comedian, sketch actor. We call it Under the Influence for a reason. No pressure, no peer pressure, but whatever influences you, you're welcome to, come in and talk to us about just reminiscing on Crazy Taxi. Anything else, Gad, you want to add about our epic Crazy Taxi game? Such memories.
Was this supposed to be Los Angeles?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure somewhere on the west. It's definitely California. It's definitely got either the California or Florida vibe. I'm guessing more California, but they don't show like any LA landmarks. There's none of that.
Okay. Because this feels like this is what was supposed to be LA. It feels like
it's probably LA. It's probably more so modeled after LA. I can see a little Florida in here, but definitely LA, California.
Okay.
Just with all the alternative Offspring, Bad Religion, I'm pretty sure those are like, California band, type vibes.
Okay.
I remember there was like a little subway, little pavilion area. I used to always drive down in there, get traffic, tear up the whole area. There it is. No, I don't go. You went the wrong way. All right, whatever. He didn't go the way I wanted him to go. All right. Once again, welcome back to Comedian Gameplay Commentary. Next, we have Power Stone. Now, I remember playing Power Stone a few times, but I wasn't like that into it. But let's go ahead and just intro. Let's stop right there, man, because that was just an epic sort of opening.
This and the Nintendo GameCube had the best turn on animation. The Dreamcast and the Nintendo GameCube, the best,
anticipation.
Yeah, the two best. The PlayStation ones were good because you always thought the game wasn't going to work. So when you got to the second screen, I mean the game worked. So people like that one just because of the relief. But the actual when you had that when you turn on that PlayStation 2 and that dark screen came up with the little stars going by, all right, cool, the game works. Yeah.
I remember that.
But the Dreamcast with the little dot and the swirly thing, this and the GameCube where the cube would come down and those two were the two best. I turn my game on. Animations, time to go. Those are the two best. They don't even have those anymore.
I'm not gonna lie, like while I wasn't a GameCube owner, I definitely remember playing the GameCube over friend's house time and time again. It was definitely up there. I can't quite put it in the same category as the Dreamcast, but it was definitely like with the PS2 echelon. You know, Luigi's Mansion, Resident Evil Zero, the Resident Evil remake, at least around that time. That was kind of my era.
I got a GameCube because of the Resident Evil games. So it was funny to have that childish little cube flown around, and I'm about to play the scariest game I've ever seen 2 minutes later.
Exactly. And like also too, like let's give an honorable mention to the PlayStation 1 intro. At the Sony intro.
That diamond, yep.
Yeah.
Both of them, the PlayStation 1 and the PlayStation 2 was like that's if you knew the game was going to work when you got to that second screen. It was both of them like that,
Yeah. All right, so here we go. Power Stone.
Okay.
Capcom Epic. One of the GOATs.
Of superstition and legend, adventurers seek the world for fortune and glory and a legendary treasure which has the power to make dreams come true. That treasure is known as the Power Stone.
Power Stone. Yeah, are you under the influence of anything today, or
the what now?
Are you under the influence of anything today? If not, no
pressure.
No.
I still got to go to work tonight.
Okay. No pressure.
So no, I'm not under the influence. Not with my commute to work.
I feel that. Here we go. So put us on.
This was a 4-man fighting game where you was 4 people playing in an arena at the same time. Fighting games didn't even come like this. So it's very rare to have games like the only other game I could think of that had this kind of setup was Banned. So was it Thrill Kill? It was Banned. It was some 90s extreme horseshit. But this one, like, it was an arena. There was a destructible environment, super moves. This game had a lot going for itself, and the biggest thing people got from this was when this came out, Dragon Ball Z was king of the world, but there wasn't a lot of Dragon Ball Z games available in the US. So in order to play one, you had to find like a real nerd.
I remember that.
You had to find to play a Dragon Ball Z game in the early 2000s, late 90s. You had to find a real nerd who knew computers. that could get an emulator and could reprogram your PlayStation to play Japanese games. You had to order them from Japan. It was a whole lot to play any game.
I remember that.
Dragon Ball Z
because my cousin was a huge Dragon Ball Z fan. He put me on, and I think he knew a guy and knew a dude, and they always they were able to put together.
You had to know a guy. You had to go to like a computer store. Or like a game shop where like a real sweaty nerd knew all this shit to read.
Sweaty nerd knew all this shit.
To damn near break your PlayStation to make it compatible for the Japanese game. It was a lot to play a Dragon Ball game. This was before Budokai. This was back when they had the game 2D character. It was a lot to do that.
I think that was the one we played. The one before that. Now Budokai, that was the first official U.S. release, right?
Yeah, I think Budokai may have been the first one, but the ones before that, because they had Super Nintendo games that were almost So,
but why did they never release them in the U.S.? Why? What was up with that? Why was it so? They then I guess U.S.
I don't know if they thought it was a good enough market yet, or the shows weren't that popular over here yet. Because like then Dragon Ball was just another anime. It was just another one of the thousands that they had over there. So it was big, but it wasn't, so it didn't catch fire the way it is now. So it's just one of the many. So they probably just didn't think it was a real market for it. Right. But I remember playing a couple of old Dragon Ball games where it was like cartoons. It was 2D animation, wasn't in 3D, and this was one of the. And this Power Stone was the closest you could get, because one character, his special move was a spirit bomb, like Goku, and that was the biggest selling point. He's not in this gameplay, but that was one of those. He was one of those characters where it was a fight to get him, and I mean a physical fight in your mom's basement with your boys over who got to get that. Like it was. Like real fights broke out in my basement over who could play Escape on Streets of Rage.
Man, but I think I do remember.
We'd be sitting there lumped up, playing together as a team, and on one person who won that day got to play Escape. Like we would, it would try to be like rock paper scissors, but those would break down and it would just turn into an actual fight. But this Power Stone game was really the closest we could have got to a easily obtainable Dragon Ball game. Even though but it looked anime-ish. It looks like Dragon Ball. It's one character had a spirit bomb, so this was the best we had. This was the closest we could have got, and this was a run around, throwing barrels at each other. It was a lot going on in this game, and when it was 4 players at the same time, it was fucking chaos. But the only way to get your special move is if you found all 3 crystals at the same time. And if someone else had it, you had to beat up that person to get it.
You're kidding?
Yeah, so it was a lot going on with these games.
So y'all, welcome back to Comedian Gameplay Commentary. I'm your host, Hayward Crawford, comedy writer over at Script Sundays TV. Here, my main man, gadholland. We are into Power Stone, and we kind of touched on the subject about, once again, you youngins don't know, back in the day, I remember playing like whatever the bootleg Dragon Ball Z game was. I think it was around PS1-ish, between the Sega Dreamcast. 2 days. And then Budokai dropped. And Budokai dropped, it was huge. It was the first, once again, I think at the time, Dragon Ball Z game. And it was pretty much like the same. I'm trying to think of like compare like what's a current craze that everybody, I guess the kids like today, that could be compared to Dragon Ball Z. I don't know if I can name it. I don't know if it's same pandemonium ever again. I don't know, but I'm drinking Modelo. If anybody wants to know, Modelo is not a sponsor of this S2TV cast, but they may be one day. Who knows? Following 10 million viewers. Modelo, we shouted you out first. All right. So what else about Power Stone? Because this is coming back to me now. I did play this game a few times. I didn't own it. I can't remember if a friend brought it over once or twice, but it's great. It looks really good. I love these levels.
Yeah, a friend of mine had it. So I never had it, but a friend of mine did. So we would all ride our bikes over there to get to it, and it would be 4-on-4. It would be mom ordered a pizza. All of this was going on. So it was bike riding with all this, and I'm trying to remember more about this. But this game, if the whole objective was just if you got them crystals, you could eliminate somebody immediately. and like I'm watching it now, and my man is like the second someone gets all the power stones, they will beat the dog shit out of the other person.
My man going to work.
My man hit missiles with the other guy. I mean, it's the same. Falcons is the same character, but I remember. I think I used to play as a fat dude. That was my. I used to always pick. If I couldn't pick the black person, I would get the fat person. That was my other video game.
All the black folks.
I would either pick the fat or the black dude. Those were my two moves.
Whatever.
So GoldenEye, GoldenEye didn't have no black people, so I will always pick the fat Russian guy whenever I play GoldenEye.
Oh, the fucking Valentine or whatever.
Yeah, I would get him. Valentine was that his name?
Oh, Valentine. No. Oh, yeah, GoldenEye is definitely on the list. GoldenEye will be. We're gonna compile a whole list, y'all. This is the our new future episode. GoldenEye, most definitely. But I used to be back in the day, multiplayer GoldenEye 64. You had to get Odd Job. You had to everybody would jump on Odd Job because you could run right past people. He could shoot. He could run right between your legs and shoot you in the face. You know.
Most people had no Odd Job rules.
Huh?
Most people had no Odd Job rules where you couldn't get Odd Job.
No rules. It was like whoever grabbed Odd Job first. Player selection, they was about to about to get murked. You had Odd Job, it was a wrap.
Games definitely had you couldn't even get him. He wasn't you couldn't, because picking him was cheating, because he was so short. The auto aim couldn't get down there to hit him, so you couldn't get hit. And if you played this Odd Job and you ducked, you would be smaller than the boxes on the level. So you could literally walk that little motherfucker into a box and no one could see him.
I know that's right.
So you could hide the whole match and no one could find it. Odd Job was just absolute cheating because of his size.
It is what it is. So Power Stone, I think these games are. I mean, I like the levels. I remember playing this a few times.
Mm-hmm.
Very unique style. It ain't just obviously 2D. You could run around, you could fight around the levels. Even with Soul Calibur. Soul Calibur's on our list.
Yeah.
Soul Calibur was great. Obviously, I think Soul Calibur had stronger graphics than this, but it wasn't as versatile. Soul Calibur's fight battles weren't as versatile as this.
Run
around like that. Or just like, they facing this way, they facing that way, and that was about it. Mortal Kombat,
Yeah. Well, because it was also 2-on-2. Like the cool thing about these was this Dreamcast had 4 controller ports. Mm-hmm. So you could play 4 people at the same. So it opened up the game. It opened up to have all this. Like you didn't like with PlayStations, they only had 2 controller ports. Mm-hmm. So to have more people, you had to get that weird plug with all the extra plugs in it to put more controllers in it. So it was just something extra. So it was hard to get 4 people onto a game at the same time. But these games were designed for having a bunch of different people at the same time. And I think the Xbox may have been the last. The Xbox or the GameCube is probably like the last console to have 4 ports on them.
I didn't know that. Wait, drop that fact again? What'd you say?
I think the Xbox or the GameCube was the last console to have 4 ports. To have 4 dedicated slots for controllers. I think those may have been the last ones.
Shit.
So Yeah, so these were like, they were really designed for having 4 people showing up at the house to play these.
Mm-hmm.
Like the 4-man battle royals in this game were crazy because it was so hard to keep up what's going on the screen because there's 4 people fighting at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But if you got all 4 stones, you were unstoppable at the time.
Oh my God!
Yeah, yeah.
Now I know we got about 5 minutes left. Do you want to maybe spend the last 5 on Dynamite Cop, or you want to maybe say that for next time?
We can say Dynamite Cop because Dynamite Cop it was a beat 'em up. Oh, it was that was a game I just could that was a game that was on that demo disc that we were talking about. And I had to
say that one for next time.
Yeah. We go ahead and say that out for next time.
All right, we can finish with Power Stone. I'm just jumping ahead. You got a few minutes left.
Oh yeah.
This looks like the Texas Roadhouse.
Man, some of these levels are hitting with barrels. This level was full of barrels. That level was full of barrels.
DK, Donkey Kong just throwing. Throwing the barrels.
Yeah. Like, this is just an old time saloon running around beating the hell out. And these games was just like it was wrestling level of just the characters that they would have. Just a Native American guy. What does he do?
Yeah.
I'm just
out here trying to feed my family.
They had Jasmine from Aladdin. It was like these characters were just absolute stereotypes.
Mm-hmm. My Lord.
Yeah, just Falcon is clearly a World War II pilot who turns into Rocket Man as a superpower. It's just And I think the one Japanese character just turns into Goku. That's what he did.
And I think the interesting thing is we can watch a lot of these commentaries now, and then once we're in a position where we could set up multiple, outlets for us to play the games, we can go back and find out of these games. I'm sure if you go to if there's a certain Game Pass, you can go back and get a lot of these games as part of a bundle, like downloads and stuff. So we can not only commentate on watching somebody else playing, but we can eventually put something together to play these games, Maybe get like 3 or 4 people, That'd be yeah.
Oh no. That'd be a whole lot of fun to get these together and start playing these again.
Yes, sir. All right. And Gad, I'm gonna count this as a submission as well.
Okay.
So these counters like a submission on the Script Sunday scoreboard too.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because you're contributing and doing your part for this. They got all the. This reminds me, what was that other game? Skies of Arcadia. Remember that on the Dreamcast?
Hold on, let me Google that.
That was Skies of Arcadia on the Dreamcast. That's what this kind of reminds me of. That was kind of like it was almost like the world, the Legend of Zelda that almost was.
Oh yeah. Okay, gotcha.
It didn't quite pop. I thought it was kind of with Final Fantasy, World of Zelda vibes. Didn't quite pop off from the Dreamcast.
Oh yeah, Chrono Trigger, all that kind of stuff. RPG out in the world is old timey, but it's new technology mixed in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, all that's
Yeah, what the hell? Oh Lord, just jumped on his nuts.
I didn't even know there was. I had no idea this game had a campaign mode. I only played the 4-on-4 battle royal.
Like this is what this is, right?
Yeah, but this is like story mode, which I never got to play story mode because I never had the game.
Sure, this ain't a strip club. Look at all these little stripper poles.
It probably was. It probably was a pirate ship strip club.
Yeah, it's wood, but they gonna slide down. Old girl gonna slide down one of them boys.
And this is her level, so this might be. Like, this is her level, so it's like he's going to each places, each character's place, like where you played, where you had to fight E Honda in a bathhouse.
Madame again, Madame. Yeah. Whorehouse. Power Stone whorehouse.
Yeah, this might be a whorehouse. Yeah.
Might be. All right, we're getting close. We're just over 60 minutes. Getting to head out in minutes. Any closing words? We just completed our first Script Sundays TV comedy troupe. Our first Under the Influence comedian gameplay commentary. First of many to come. We want to try maybe start doing this maybe at least twice a month. We'll kind of see how things go. But Gad, anything you want to add before we things out? We got to head off soon.
Yeah, I'm good to go. Just follow me on gadholland on all social platforms. My name is weird enough where I don't have a wild name. So if you type in gadholland, I'll pop up for everything you need to find. That's the best way to find me.
All right, y'all.
And then
Well, it's been fun. See you on the next comedian gameplay commentary, and see y'all next time.
See you, man.
See ya.